Welcome to the sixth episode of my series Decolonizing the Mind. I try to maintain a rhythm of one video per day. Unfortunately, and I apologize for that, I couldn't do it yesterday because in the night of Thursday, a storm tore off part of my roof of my house, and we ended up without electricity and water coming into the rooms, and so we had a terrible time in getting ready to be able to live a normal life. So we had some urgency assistance, but it will take a few, maybe 1 or 2 weeks before it's resolved totally. But now I have access to internet, so I can do the videos again. Sorry for the delay. Now, my presentation of today deals with the question of Hezbollah. Is it opening up a new front? In order to discuss this, we need to look at the history of Hezbollah, the relationship between Hezbollah and the resistance in Palestine, and an analysis which I will give of the speech that Secretary General Said Hassan Nasrallah gave yesterday. Hezbollah came out of the Israeli occupation of Lebanon, which started in 1982 when Israel tried to drive off the PLO, who had its headquarters in Lebanon, and they succeeded in driving out the PLO, but they occupied Lebanon directly and indirectly through their proxies till 2000. Hezbollah itself was founded in that year, in 1982, with the help of Iran. And basically, Hezbollah developed as a social, political, and military unit within Lebanon, of the Shia community in the south of Lebanon that is adjacent to the north of Israel. So they have developed since 1982 a big presence in Lebanon, in the government. They have a separate army, and they have a system of social services, and they have media, television, internet. So they are an important force in Lebanon. And in 2006, Israel tried to eradicate Hezbollah from the political scene. It invaded Lebanon. And here is an evaluation of that invasion by a US think tank who in 2011 wrote a report and gave an assessment of Hezbollah. They acknowledged that Hezbollah has won the war, and they said that Hezbollah had a major advance in signal intelligence and communication, meaning that Hezbollah has now an infrastructure to monitor everything that's going on in Israel. So they know very well what the infrastructure is, military intelligence of Israel, who the people are, and they are now able not to react to an invasion of Israel. They are able to take the initiative in a future war and in fact start something that would come down near to an invasion of Israel via land and seaborne insurgents. And the think tank concludes, in a future war, Israel territory could become a front line for the first time, meaning Israel always invades other countries, bombs other countries, but in a future war, Israel might be invaded. A point I'm trying to make all along. Interesting is this. In two years ago, obviously we had another war of Israel bombing Gaza. And Naim Qasim, the Deputy Secretary General of Hezbollah, explained the relationship between Hezbollah and the resistance in Gaza. He says we are in daily contact with the leaders of the resistance and the Palestinian jihadi fighters. And he's saying we are going to assist them. And he explained also that the Palestinians have such capabilities that they can wage war on their own, meaning that obviously they need the support, but they have an immense capability. And he says there are important Palestinian brains which are helping in the creation and establishment of the capabilities. So they have experts in developing the tunnel, although the tunnel was an idea, outside of Gaza, but they managed to create a tunnel system with their own people and their own intellectuals, and also enable them to develop weapons and other capabilities. Now, what is interesting is if you look at the Islamic world, the Sunni Shia divide was one of the biggest divide and rule mechanisms that the West used to control Western Asia. And Ismail Haniyeh, the head of the political bureau of Hamas, declared in 2002, he says, Iran has never hesitated to support the resistance and assisted financially, military, and technologically. He explained that during the another war, this is the fifth one, the Israel-Gaza war, in the 2008-2009 war, Iranian General Soleimani had been present in the Hamas military rooms in Damascus. So the war was directed from the military operations room in Syria. They were coordinating with a general on the ground from Iran, Soleimani, and apparently all these communications the Israelis and the US are not able to intercept. Now, in 2017, Hezbollah leader Nasrallah said that in a new war, things might be different. The fighting will not be limited in just Gaza. It might extend, states might get involved, but directly or indirectly. But he says, and that's an important thing, there are thousands, even hundreds of thousands of fighters all over Arab and Muslim world who are willing to participate. Meaning this, if people are willing from all over the Muslim world to come to fight in Israel, then obviously people are also thinking about how to get these people there, how to train them, how to put it logistically in coordination with the resistance. And this is going on as we speak. So he is explaining there's a bigger danger for Israel than just Hamas and the Israeli occupation army. In my analysis in the book, I developed this idea further and said that in the coming rounds of fight between the Palestinian resistance and Israel, you might have a situation where ballistic missiles from Iran hit Israel, rockets, drones, and physical confrontation will enter the scene. The Iron Dome will be destroyed, the airfields will be destroyed, the stockpile of nuclear weapons could be an attack, and there could be man-to-man fights between thousands of Muslim fighters and the settlers in the West Bank. And the question will be, how will Israeli morale fare? Can they unite the liberals and the extreme right for preventing the disintegration of Israel? And that's why I said we could pose the question whether Israel will exist in the coming decades. Now, the speech of Hassan Nasrallah of yesterday was a very interesting speech. He explained the character of the Palestinian resistance. He says October 7th was planned and executed 100% by the Palestinians. And he explained that this means that in the coordination talk between the different factions in occupied Palestine and outside, that the Hamas and the small team that prepared it didn't tell them, look, this is what we're going to do. And he says, you might think that the concealment of operations, of these operations, would raise concerns with Hezbollah and others. Why didn't you tell us that you are doing this? And he says, no, we understand. We understand that you didn't tell us, and we think that you should not have tell us. And it tells you one thing about the character of the Palestinian resistance. They are leading and they are in charge. It's not Iran, it's not Hezbollah that are telling them what to do. They are in charge of their own liberation struggle. It's important to understand. And Nasrallah said, we really didn't mind, and we completely understood that this operation should have been so secretly, because the impact, the nature and the impact was so immense that if Israel, through whatever means, got an idea that it was coming, it might have been a failure and it could be fatal for Hamas and the resistance. Now, Nasrallah said, look, people expect us to declare war. Say, okay, we are going in. Now, we are not declaring war, but let me tell you that the fighting is already going on. Here, if you look at the map of Israel, Gaza is in the south, and Lebanon is in the north, and he says there are, since the 8th October, so one day after October 7, the fighting in the north already started. And he says 57 of our soldiers have been killed. We don't know how many Israelis have killed, but he knows quite a lot of tanks have been destroyed because they were fighting the Israelis in the north of Israel. You don't hear it, but it's there. And he says the reason we did it from October the 7th is that we wanted to relieve the pressure on Gaza, because Israel had mobilized all its forces to invade Gaza. And one of the reasons it took so long to invade Gaza was because Hezbollah were putting pressure on the Israelis for the front in the north. And he said, according to the intelligence and observations, a third of the Israeli army logistical forces were directed at the Lebanese borders. The elite units, half of Israel's naval capabilities, their ships, went to the north. A quarter of the air force have been redirected towards Lebanon. Half of the missile defense systems are oriented toward Lebanon. And the Israelis have evacuated 43 settlements in the north of Palestine because the war is already going on in the north. Now he explains, he looks at the invasion in Gaza and says, we have seen this now for the 5th time, invasion of Gaza. And we see every time Israel does things, they become more and more irrational because they put up objectives that they can't possibly attain. And he gives an example of 2006. The war invasion of 2006 was put under the label of eradicating Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah had captured 2 Israeli prisoners, and the reaction was, we're going to eradicate Hezbollah from Lebanon and release the 2 prisoners. Now they are saying we're going to eradicate Hamas and release the 200 prisoners. And he says, look, if that is your goal, it's an unrealistic goal, because you can't eradicate Hamas, you can't eradicate Hezbollah, because it's not just an organization, it's a movement and an idea of liberation. And he said they failed in 2006, and they bombed us, and they did all kinds of horrible things. And at the end of the day, in 2006, after 33 days, they stopped, and they had to negotiate. And in 2008, Hezbollah transferred the coffins of the 2 captured Israeli soldiers in exchange for a Palestinian summer junta for Hezbollah militants who had been captured, and the bodies of 2,000 other Lebanese and Palestinian militants. He says, when October 27 started, the Americans contacted Hezbollah And they said to them, we are going to send warships and planes. So if you come into action, we are going at war, USA are going at war against Hezbollah. And he said, you know what we told the Americans? You don't, you think you're frightening us, but we are not frightening. You can't instill fear on us. So let me make it clear to you. Your naval fleets and your aerial warfare will really prove futile and of no real benefit. Why? Because we will sink your aircraft carrier, which carry 5,000 people, and we will knock out your aeroplanes. And so don't think this would be a walkover. And that tells you, if he says that, it means apparently they have the capabilities to do this. Otherwise, he wouldn't utter such a threat. Now, the Israeli objective might be unrealistic, but the objective of Hezbollah and the liberation movement is not, so ludicrous as people might think. Their objective is total liberation of Palestine from the river to the sea. And if you look at the Deputy Secretary General of Hezbollah, he says, our goal is basically a total conquest and liberate Al-Quds, Jerusalem. Now, I've said that in Palestine and in the struggle in the region, the unity of Sunni and Shia is very important, and that is developed on the ground. Qatar has this main office in Hamas has its main office in Qatar, a Sunni country, Sunni leadership, and they are cooperating with the Shia leaders in the region. And one of the most important Sunni leaders in the region is President Erdogan of Turkey. So if on that level you achieve a unity, then the liberation of Jerusalem might not be that unrealistic as people might think. That's why I will discuss the role of Turkey in the next episode, the history, its relation with the US, and its relation with Iran. Important to understand that. In my book, I discuss Hezbollah and the 2006 war in different places, but if you go to the index and you put in Hezbollah, you will see it. This PDF you can download at the website sandohira.com, and you can support our channels by subscribing to the channel in YouTube, share it with friends, families, and colleagues, and encourage them to subscribe, get involved in discussions group, and if you want to make a financial donation, look at sandohira.com. Donation, support us, how you can donate. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow.